One day I will open a shop. One day I will buy cows. One day I will become rich. Grandpa Mateo spent his days sitting under a large tree in the center of the village, looking up at the sky. He had beautiful dreams of wealth, but he never actually lifted a finger to build them. At first, the people walking by would point and laugh at him, but as the years went on and he remained sitting in the dust, the laughter faded. They just shook their heads in pity. Inside their small home, the reality of those empty dreams fell entirely on Grandma Rosa. She cooked, scrubbed floors, and washed clothes, carrying the crushing weight of the household on her own shoulders. Time passed, and the house began to reflect Mateo's inaction. The roof leaked, the walls cracked, and the money slowly disappeared. Soon, the family meals shrank to a handful of beans and a single tortilla. The breaking point came late one night. Mateo's 7-year-old grandson, Teo, walked into the room barefoot and thin. He tugged at Mateo's sleeve and quietly asked if they had any bread. Grandma Rosa walked over and opened the wooden cupboard. Dust floated in the air. There was absolutely nothing inside. That night, his dreams were replaced by a heavy, sleepless silence. Seeing his grandson hungry shattered the illusion. The very next morning, Mateo stood up, put on his worn shoes with a new sense of urgency, and walked out the door to find manual labor. He took a job in the agricultural fields. It required swinging heavy tools under a blinding sun for hours on end, trading blistered hands and an aching back for a daily wage. At last, Mateo dragged his feet home and opened his rough palm to show Teo his earnings. The handful of small coins was tiny compared to the immense physical sacrifice he endured in the field, and those coins disappeared instantly. The money that came in went right back out to pay for a few beams, necessary medicine, and temporary fixes to a leaky roof. Trading hours for a wage offers no escape if the cost of survival matches or exceeds the daily earnings. Despite the back-breaking effort, Mateo was simply working to stay in the same place. Desperate for a solution, Mateo overheard men at the village store talking about the safety of savings. That night, he pulled a dusty glass jar from under his bed and dropped a single coin inside. To make that clinking sound happen every week, he endured severe deprivation. He walked in shoes with visible holes, wore patched clothes, and silently slid half of his already meager dinner onto Teo's plate. Grandma Rosa watched the strategy with heavy skepticism. She gestured to their empty table, questioning why the family should remain hungry in the present just to watch a pile of metal grow. Mateo pushed through the hunger. Month after grueling month, he slid more coins into the grass until it was finally packed to the brim, catching the golden evening light. Watching physical money accumulate provides a powerful sense of relief. For the first time in years, Mateo felt he had built a solid wall between his family and the world's hardships. Feeling completely secure, Mateo marched into the village market, placed his heavy jar of life savings onto a vendor's table, and asked for 3 sacks of corn. The shopkeeper slowly counted the coins, shook his head, and delivered only 1.5 sacks of corn. The underlying economic reality had shifted. Over the months Mateo spent saving, the cost of goods increased. While the number of coins in the jar stayed the same, the world around them had become more expensive. Mateo stared up a small portion of grain in shock. His money had lost its purchasing power. Every meal he had skipped to fill that jar was now worth only half of what he had planned. Static currency loses its value over time as prices rise, making the simple hoarding of cash an unreliable defense against poverty. Sitting quietly outside his house, Mateo watched his neighbors walk by carrying baskets of fresh eggs and jugs of milk. These were resources that produced more of themselves every morning, unlike the silent coins in his jar. He abandoned the hoarding strategy. Taking his remaining money, he purchased a small wooden crate containing a few thin, scraggly chickens and released them into his yard. Within days, he found a single egg in the coop, then 2. By moving his money into a living asset, he had acquired something that generated new value on its own. The family engaged in a new cycle. They ate a portion of the eggs for survival, sold the surplus to neighbors, and use those profits to buy another chicken. An investment is a living mechanism. It simultaneously provides for the family today while generating the capital needed to expand the flock tomorrow. What started as a single egg in a wooden nest was joined by 2, then 4, as the yard filled with a multiplying flock. Mateo sat at a table with a focused expression, carefully logging every egg sold in a small notebook, managing the growth of his household with a level of care he had never shown for his daydreams. The passive dreamer from the village tree was gone. In his place was a man who took pride in a thriving, self-sustaining asset that worked for him even when he was asleep. He held a single egg up to the light and told his grandson, "Money can finish, money can lose value, but if we use money the right way, it grows like life." True stability does not come from watching a jar of depreciating currency. It comes from shifting your focus toward building and nurturing assets that grow.